Ladies and gentlemen, for many years now, we have been living in a global Cold War, a war that in reality never truly ended. It simply changed form. The battles are no longer fought on fields with weapons, but within human consequences, in information, in the soul, and even within the DNA of mankind. This invisible mechanism of power, the global corporate system, has been organized for centuries through three central pillars of crime and control: the Washington DC, the Vatican, and the City of London. Through these institutions, humanity has been enslaved through economic, legal, and religious chains, a system that holds us captive from birth through the false birth certificate that became a tool of registration, control, submission, and more broadly, deception of the human species. But the time has come, a time when true patriots from different parts of the world have designed and initiated the mission to liberate humanity. These men and women with faith, courage, and devotion stood against the system enslavement and set in motion a global plan of awakening and justice. For several years now, we have been studying on the front lines of this war, a biological, spiritual, and asymmetrical war, where the visible coexist with the hidden truth battles lies and the light clashes the darkness. Since 2020, we have embarked on a great journey of awakening and struggle. We have stepped forward without fear, with faith and boldness, guided by God and the higher invisible forces that illuminate the path of truth. Our duty is sacred. Our duty is to defend our children, humanity, and the divine essence with our DNA itself. Ladies and gentlemen, today with me are two people who, through coming from different backgrounds, share the same vision and the same mission. Two souls who, each in his own way, fight for truth, freedom, and the awakening of humankind. One represents the power of action, awakening through information and movement. The other embodies the wisdom of spirit, the connection of a man with natural law and divine essence. Together, they represent the body and the spirit of the global awakening movement, strength and knowledge, action and vision. Our first guest is Scott McKay, known internationally as the Patriot Street Fighter. He is an entrepreneur, former professional athlete, and political activist, a man who has dedicated his life to fighting corruption and inspiring citizens to stand tall against lies and fear. After decades in the field of wellness and personal development, Scott turned all his energy toward the fight for truth and freedom. In 2020, he launched his program The Tipping Point and created the global movement Patriot Street Fighter, through which he became a voice of awakening for millions of people around the world. With his passion, courage and devotion, he calls on all of us to rediscover our power as citizens, as souls, and as creations of God. Our second guest is Sacha, an international activist, philosopher, artist, and visionary of human sovereignty. Born in Rhodesia, he experienced the struggle of independence firsthand, an experience that shaped his deep understanding of freedom and justice. In 1999, he founded the Humanitarian Foundation, through which he has worked for human rights and natural justice. In 2013, he created the New Earth Project, a global vision for autonomous, sovereign, and sustainable communities. And in 2015, he founded the International Tribunal for Natural Justice, an international court dedicated to exposing crimes against humanity and restoring natural law. He is also the founder of the World Health Sovereignty Summit and the Lazarus Initiative, platforms that unite scientists, thinkers, and spiritual leaders to spread knowledge, truth, and spiritual freedom. Sacha is a citizen of the world who has devoted his life to spiritual awakening and to restoring the natural law, calling on all of us to reunite with our divine essence and walk in the light of truth. It is a great honor and joy for me to share this moment with two people who have devoted their lives to the service of humanity, two beacons of the light in the dark map of our times, Scott McKay and Sacha. Before we begin our discussion, I would first like to warmly welcome you and invite you to share a brief greeting with the audience watching us today. Scott, Sacha, It is truly an honor to have you both here with me. I also know that you were recently in Greece during the New Earth Horizon seminar at sea. That remarkable journey which unites the wisdom of ancient civilizations with modern spiritual awakening. Your presence there touched many Greeks who are seeking truth and feel deeply connected to this global call for freedom and consciousness. Scott, let's start with you. Would you like to say a brief hello and send first message to our friends watching from Greece and around the world? And right after, Sacha would love to hear your greetings as well.
Yeah, hello. Good to be here today with all of my Greek friends. I actually have some now that I spent some time there for the first time ever. But before we get started on that, I want to make sure I can throw the first jab when Sacha and I get together. We usually start out that way. So since I'm out in front, I'm just kind of looking at something here, and I'm reading along with what you had said here about both of us. And it says one represents the power of action, awakening through information and movement, and the other embodies the wisdom of spirit, the connection of man with natural law and divine essence. So, and obviously, wisdom of spirit. That certainly applies to Sacha, but I just want to make sure the next time that we come on that I can be the wisdom of spirit, because Sacha always seems to hold that mantle and I never get equal time in that place. But, anyways, that's very, very true. The cruise was great. We were in multiple countries, and, I was especially moved by Greece, and I'll tell you why. I got a chance to spend 2 days there, having lunch and dinner on the way in and the way out. And I just got to say, now I understand why people love Greek food so much. You know, I'm indifferent, but I know when I sat down there the day before we left and I had one of those outdoor type of restaurants where it's going up a stairway and on each side are platforms and straight up to the top is a medieval wall of some sort, some historic, fortress wall. But when they served the salad, and, I'm indifferent to that stuff too, but I started to eat this salad with those little tomatoes. And this ball of white cheese, I don't know what it was, but I'm like, I can eat anything. This probably just be, something I'm indifferent to. I'm telling you, I've had dreams about that salad ever since I ate it. And then the rest of the food that came out, I looked at Rob and I said, this is unbelievable. I said, I swear to God, I think this is the best dinner I've ever eaten in my life. I'm like, and look, and here's the thing. I looked around. You're in America. 75% of the people are either overweight or obese. There's obese. 50% of the population is obese. And when you're at a restaurant, you see nobody. Shouldn't say that. So many people are sitting like this. People across the table from them, they're sitting there on their stupid phones. Nobody's paying attention. I looked around and I saw the Greek people. Hardly anybody was overweight. The food was magnificent and everybody was enjoying each other's company. They weren't bolted to this tractor beam that is emitted from this enslavement camp. I was so impressed with that. So impressed. And I thought to myself, we have it wrong in American culture in so many ways. We lead the world in a lot of things, right? Yeah, we do, but a lot of the wrong things. So they made a great impression on me, although I'd say that I didn't find the Greek people, all of them, to be completely welcoming in that environment. And I thought to myself, wonder why. It was several different instances where I'm very polite and kind to everybody and you didn't get that return. And I thought, well, I bet I know why. Because Americans go to other countries and not necessarily misbehave, but they don't know how to show the respect to the people of those countries and their culture, and appreciate those countries and the culture and the space they're occupying when they go into somebody else's world to be a tourist. Like, hey, I got money. I'm here you guys should cater to me. No. You should always be looking to meet people in other countries and learn their language a little bit. I always try to learn a language and say a few things back and forth, just things that say, thank you for allowing me to be in your country. That's a message to Americans. You don't own the world, and I've seen too much of this behavior in my time. But outside of that, spectacular country, and I'm simply going back for a week when I can to do one thing: hit breakfast restaurant, lunch restaurant, dinner restaurant, 7 straight days.
Very good. Very good. Well, let me start by saying, I know two words in Greek. One is rapimo, which is probably the most important. And the other one is philaiki, because I was in love for many years with a Greek woman who's still a beloved friend. And I learned those two words about 25, 30 years ago, something like that. In any event, let me say I've been to Greece a few times, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. Having Scott there for me was an absolute delight. Absolute delight. And yes, we traveled to Greece, Cyprus, Egypt, and Turkey over a period of about three and a half weeks, something like that, I think it was, and spent some time in Greece. And I have to say, Giannis, meeting you was just such a wonderful closing to my journey in the Mediterranean, in the Aegean. And I know that part of the world very well. I lived in Egypt for a few years, and I know that part of the world. Meeting you on the very last day was fantastic for me. I was literally flying out. Scott couldn't make the interview with you. He relayed you on to me. We met in the airport and sat down. And I just have to say that you left such an impression on me that I think, for me, the importance of doing this interview and having this conversation is not about Scott McKay or Sacha Stone or about what our stories. It's really about how can Scott McKay and Sacha Stone and our networks support you. Because you are one of the most remarkable men I've ever met. You are so alone in the fight that you are holding in Greece. I know your backstory. I know how incredibly brave you are. I know that you have little to no support that you really need. And I told you at the airport that day, I said, we will work, Scott and I will work to create a support network around you, because you embody the spirit that he and I glamorize. But you embody it, and you do it like a monk. You don't ask for any reward. You don't get any reward. You don't ask for any applause. You don't get any applause. And you know what? Johannes, you should get all the applause, and you should get all of the rewards. So I just wanted to say that. That's my reason for being in this conversation. I love you. I see you. We support you, and we're not leaving. We're going to help build this momentum. Now to the other question.
Yes.
Scott is absolutely correct in everything he said there about America and about the interfacing between Americans and the world. But there is also a counterpoint. So the jab that Scott and I do is about maintaining a counterpoint. America is the big fucking experiment. Okay? If anyone has been butchered, it has been the people of Middle America. If anybody has been mind-fucked, it is the good people of Middle America. If anyone has been in a petri dish as a social, economical, ecological, psychological, emotional, cultural, civilizational, spiritual experiment, it is the good people of America. And that's because the good people of Middle America represent every nation and every culture on earth. And Scott is correct. 75%, and I think you are being polite there, Scott. 75% plus of Americans are obese, fat, indolent, lost in the smoke, in the fog, chemically poisoned, psycho-emotionally dysfunctional and dysregulated, completely propagandized and mind-fucked by a very controlled media and academia and entertainment complex, which has been weaponized for at least half a century, aimed at Middle America. So I see in the American people the most beautiful spirit in the human family. I genuinely do. And I come under a lot of attack in America. And we had to navigate horrible things this earlier this year in Tennessee with, people with guns and death threats and all sorts of ugly stuff. there's a lot of ignorance that we have to work through in the sovereignty movement to make our presence felt, to make our truth felt, to bring this living principle into the soil and to anchor it into the soil. It requires tremendous courage and stamina. But I just say that what Scott said is absolutely correct. But please, let's not forget that America is the world. America is Greece. America is Turkey. America is all these other countries bundled in, genetically speaking, culturally speaking, socially, economically speaking. It is that compression point. So whenever we talk about America and point it at America, let's say that that is the common human being. Let me also say this. I'm not impressed with Greece. I'm not impressed with it at all. I was very offended by Greece, and I love Greece. But I was offended. I think that there was a level of stupidity, of autocratic, technocratic, bureaucratic bullshit in Greece that was disgusting, that really offended me. I saw it in the museums. I saw it going about dealing with the so-called authority. Fuck the Greek corporation government. There is nothing there that is serving the living, that is serving the people. I'm not impressed. So I agree. The salads are fantastic. The food is fantastic. The community is fantastic. The people are fantastic. But the rest of it sucks and is very, very weaponized and very dangerous to the whole of humanity if that is allowed to continue. The absolute control, draconian control, is locked and loaded in Greece in a way I have not seen before. So that's actually my takeaway. And again, I'll repeat this. I love Greece. But, Ioannis, I have little else to say by way of introduction, but I'm not impressed with your government or with the contract that exists between the control and the people. Not impressed at all.
You're right. And thank you so much for all of you said right now. And I would like to, first of all, I'd like Sacha and Scott to begin with something beautiful and recent. And that, as you said about the truly special event, the New Earth Horizon Seminar at Sea, and a unique spiritual and cultural voyage, and that also passed through Greece. Could you both tell us what the experience was like and what exactly took place there, and what was the message behind this journey, and who were the people who took part in such this wonderful event? And yes,
well, yeah, we Sacha had been organizing this and proposed it to me probably in the springtime, and of course I quickly signed on to it because that'd be a fascinating journey. And I can say as time got closer to that journey, I'd been on the road for 3, pushing 4 months, and had an ankle injury. So I was actually prior to even the ankle injury, I was just kind of rethinking about going on this trip. And it took about 3 or 4 minute conversation at my kitchen table downstairs with Sacha, say, this will be a life-changing event in your world. So I instantly said, yeah, he's probably right. No matter what, I'm going to be there. And I ended up getting on the boat, made a decision at the airport because of this ankle injury. And there's a vulnerability there that's pretty serious. So I thought, well, I'm going to get on that boat and on the plane, get there, get on the boat, see what happens. I wasn't able to go on off the boat in these excursions. But as I said, this has been a transformational experience for me, and not just me. I talked to I think we had a total, all of us together might have been around 50 people, but I talked to others and they felt the same thing. They had the experience of seeing the pyramids of Giza and seeing all these other historical, the Acropolis, all these various sites that I couldn't see or get to. I could see the coastline. I could see the medieval fortress walls. All those things had an energetic impact on me, but the cross section, where I was sitting in ports was an important place, especially in Egypt, to be, according to some things that Sacha and I were working on with his AI avatar. But coming off the boat, I said this to my friend Rob, and I said, I just feel like I'm just so at peace. And I've been like that since I returned. The things that normally kind of ramp me up or bother me, or I just feel pressure about things in life, the world, running this operation, whatever. it just doesn't seem to matter. And I think what it is, and it wasn't because of what I saw, at least off the boat, it was this battery of incredible experiences in seminar settings, because we had a room the whole time in a ship where Sacha scheduled some type of seminars and events throughout the day or the evenings after excursions. We would all be there, all structured, and just a fascinating dissertation on things that I would have never known, had I not met Sacha, and I sincerely mean that. I probably wouldn't have crossed paths with too many people that have the type of information that Sacha or David Emery has, or even Margot Anand, one of my new BFFs. By the way, prayers for her. She's actually, I think she's fighting a little bit of a illness, had some issues with her lungs in hospital. But all of that being said, and Sacha, I was talking to somebody 2 nights ago, and I just said, I have no idea. Like, this guy's database of knowledge and information is so expansive. I think to myself, how not only put all that stuff on command in your brain and pull it out when you want to, but the years to amass this kind of wisdom and knowledge is epic. And I don't say that because you're in front of me. I say it when you're not around, but it's had a dramatic impact on the spiritual resonance that is part of my world. I've always been on a spiritual track, but it really opened up for me in many ways when I first met Sacha. We went on the first tour, and then we're kind of an odd couple, an unlikely alliance maybe, given our backgrounds. But we share the same vision, the same dream for the planet. We want to peel away and blow up this yoke that's on the backs of all of humanity, and we're willing to do whatever it takes to get it done. And so, for me, it was a privilege to work alongside him, but to learn from him in ways, and learn from David Emery on the 19 different dimensions of spiritual ascension track, and all this stuff that was tied together with really incredible AI depictions of what each dimension looks like. It was an education I couldn't have gotten in seminary, or, the thousands of times that, I've read my Bible, studying it, sitting over there on a shelf. It's 48 years old. Had it since I was a kid. My grandmother gave it to me. But you just can't get that kind of an education. And it's been transformational for me, and other people said the same thing. So that's what it was like for me in particular. I'm sure everybody has their different experiences, but it still boils back to the same point. We all walked away saying the same things. This was truly epic.
Yeah, no, I would second that. With Scott, it was very interesting being able to work and interface with AI. I was working with the group there. We had about 55 people all in our circle, who'd all come from around the world to join us on this mythic retreat cruise, and it was unscripted, so we did not plan anything. What I wanted to do was to take a kind of group dreaming exercise. So we took down the coordinates of everyone on day one, the astrological data, the birth chart data, where they were born, when they were born, exactly the time they were born, and exactly where they're living now in the world, and the city or the town that they live in. And we did the astrocartography. It's connecting the beginning of the thread of this incarnation from when they first came into this world to exactly where they are in the world now, living and working and playing. And you create this astrocartographic story, narrative. It emerges, and using AI with astrocartography, it is so incredibly revealing. It can teach you everything about yourself, about the decisions that you've made, about the decisions that you're making, and about how you need to possibly refine and change the course of your life. There are some people who are, everything is based on choices. Of course, we know that. But if somebody is in a situation, and one of our beloved guests is a stage 4 cancer patient, and I say patient, he has stage 4 cancer, and what a beautiful man he is. And Scott and I spent time with him and with his wife, especially toward the end of the tour. I happen to know that this tour was life-changing for him, absolutely life-changing. I heard from Scott yesterday, and he's doing great. And what he learned, that man on this tour, was absolutely life-changing for him. Enough for him to be able to flip 180 degrees, the script on the inside, and to say, instead of choosing death or choosing dis-ease, I'm going to choose life. I'm going to choose affirmation, creation, expansion. And it is a choice. It always comes down to a choice. People who have a disease are not being punished, but everyone is being faced with the reckoning of their own story. And in many cases, people who have a cancer, for instance, are also carrying a burden of the family constellation. They are also carrying a burden of the epigenetic story of their ancestors, which is unresolved. And that story cascades through history and meets us in the present. So many people who are battling some stage 4 cancer are the bravest souls amongst us, because they've actually taken on the incarnate burden of their ancestral genetic story, and they are doing what they can to purify and cleanse and terminate those old contracts in the blood. So please do not make the mistake of thinking that people who are ill or have a so-called disease are being punished or are living bad karma. Sometimes they are avatars and saints living amongst us who are cleansing the bad karma of others that went before them. But that was essentially my purpose of this tour, was wanting to begin to explore the mathematics and the mechanics of group dreaming. How can a group of people come in? We did the other synastry, which of the group, which is to see what soul group do they fall into. Now again, without AI, it would be almost impossible to have done that. It would have been impossible. But with the AI computation and processing, we were able to break the group down into primary types: the phoenix, or the warrior, or the guardian, or the wisdom keeper, and this was also helping people on that tour get a context of themselves and the role that they're playing in the group dream, so they can stand more into that strength of being a guardian or a warrior or a phoenix or a messenger. And I think that coming out of that, the feedback that I've received, that we've received, was that it was life-changing for pretty much everyone there. And for sure, we're going to be repeating that next year. We're going to be back to Greece, because Greece seems to be the center of this kind of mythic scenario. So we look forward to being there again. The next time, we expect that there will be a great many more people coming on the cruise, because it was so successful. But thank you for asking the question, Ioannis. For me, having a time with Scott was absolutely the high point for me, hands down. I would have happily just gone for 3.5 weeks and just been with him. This would have been sufficient for me to have felt really, really good about it. But the fact that I also have my Bali family, about 5 of them came, and Margot and Ann being amongst them, and spending time with my Bali family was so precious for me. And then meeting members of my own community and Scott's community close, and spending time with these people, every single one of them is a story, is a hero's journey. And I learned this more and more in life. If you just have the patience to witness and to listen to every single human being. I'm serious. I've not met a human being that is not, in a sense, the hero of their own journey. And if you listen to their story, it's always an epic, a beautiful story, and a big one, and a powerful one. Even if it's a mundane existence and a kind of simple existence, there's always this incredible journey, Herculean journey, Odyssey, Anyway, I'll leave it at that, just to say, watch out, because we're coming back.
So, Sacha, this was your idea for this special. This was very special idea to do this, because as we hear, you combine technology, the AI technology, the spiritual thing, and what else, and the etymology. It's a great what you did, and you succeed this to bring all of this knowledge, combine it, and bring the hope to people that have this need to do. So thank you for that. And I didn't know that anybody could think such like this thing. It's amazing. It's amazing. So let's ask something else about Sacha. We know you about the International Tribunal for Natural Justice. Okay. I would like to turn now to a very important part of this work, the ITNJ. This is an independent international institution, as I read, that has drawn the attention of many around the world as it addresses issues for other institutions to avoid touching, such as violations of human rights, human trafficking, child abuse, and manipulation of the biosphere. Could you tell us how did the idea of ITNJ begin, and what is its true role, and how does it function in a global environment where justice seems to have surrendered to systems of power, and how do you see it in the future, and do you believe if ITNJ can serve as a model for a new form of natural justice for all humanity?
Very good. I'll try to get through this answer as quickly as I can, because otherwise I don't want to go off too long on this subject.
Oh, of course.
But let me be clear here. We are holding court right now. Scott, you and I are here by consent, and the three of us are deliberating on questions. We are adjudicating, we are evaluating, and we are coming to consensus through this court. This court is a conversation between three fully grown men. And what comes out of this court, of this conversation, of this interview, is the remedy. We give birth to some beautiful understandings and consensus. So the same thing in your family. When you sit around the kitchen table, that is the court. This is sovereign people, a constellation of living souls, living sons and daughters of God, conducting their own court and agreeing to principles, agreeing to stories, agreeing to conduct, and creating remedy, which is love. Okay? Fellowship, kinship. And then you go to the workplace, and we have board meetings, and we have work sessions, and so on and so forth. We are conducting court also in these environments. And in the town hall, the assembly hall meetings that we are having in little towns, the same thing. We are holding court. Now, that's where it should end. The idea that we should be subjected to some extraneous outside jurisdiction imposed upon us, I have only one answer to that, and it's the same answer and will never change, which is hashtag fuck the government. Because government was never invited to control outcomes, ever invited in to tell us what to think, how to dress, what to do, how to conduct ourselves. Never invited in. It crept in like a fucking snake, because that's what it is. And when I say government, be clear, I'm speaking about the Catholic Church. I'm speaking about the monotheistic religious orchestrations, institutions of the world, in the Islamic world as well. All of the monotheistic religion institutions have become government emerged off the back of priest bankers, and priests are bankers, and bankers are priests. So if we get very clear in our understanding of pure truth and of how to navigate sovereignty in the kingdom of the devil, and to wear the armor of God, and to walk in a straight line and conduct ourselves righteously, we are protected. I'm still standing. Scott is still standing. Johannes, you are still standing. We are conducting court. We are the court. So, having said that, 10 years ago, I did found the International Tribunal for Natural Justice precisely because I realized that if the Catholic Church and the Islamic monotheistic institutions and the other Babylonian priesthood institutions of the world were creating the International Court of Justice, the International Criminal Court, and these other jurisdictions, which were then engaging in contracts with each other, and then forcing all countries of the world into compliance with their compact, with their treaties, not for justice, for politics, for political coercion. So the International Court of Justice, the ICC, these are organizations that have been highly weaponized and are a utility of the devil and are manipulating the catastrophic downfall of governments throughout the developing world to replace them with friendly puppets. So this is what these courts have been used. They were intended in the right way, like the United Nations founding charter was a beautiful thing. The same as in the United States with the Constitution. The intention at the beginning was harnessing good intention, but they've been utterly corrupted. This is the problem. So 10 years ago, I thought, well, I had enough experience already of doing high-end diplomacy behind the curtain at very high level. I realized it was all a game. It was all gaming. It was all controlling images. So who controls the images? Well, I recognize one thing, and that the common human family is the true power, not these little enclaves of invisible priests. And so I thought, well, let's set up an international tribunal to the best of our ability. Let's constitute it by the people for the people, which we did. That was the treaty event that occurred in 2015. It's on public record. And subsequent to that, we became a court of inquiry, of investigation, not of prosecution. Because I don't believe anyone has the right to prosecute anyone other than on the ground. We should be policing our own families. We should be policing ourselves, policing our relationships, policing our family constellation, policing our local communities. That's how we should do it. The jungle, exactly the way they do it. In Bali, for instance, they call it the banjar. And don't fuck with the banjar. Because if you try and rape or murder, a bunch of the warrior men will drag you into a little dark room and beat you to death with a stick. The end. And 27 men will come out at sunrise, and the police won't know who to prosecute. And you know what? There is no rape, and there is no murder. Strange that. So the point being, there are different ways of self-policing, but we have to learn that. So the ITNJ became a judicial body that was conducting inquiries, investigations. We've done 5. Human trafficking and child sex abuse, financial crimes. And we're about to close the financial crimes hearing after 7 years. I was on the call yesterday with our justice, and we are setting the final date for the closing the inquiry into financial crimes. And boy, watch this space, because what is coming there is phenomenal. 7 years that inquiry has been rolling on. So human trafficking, child sex abuse, financial crimes. We then did weaponization of the biosphere in 2019 in Indonesia. And then we did the COVID sittings during the COVID pantomime. Sure. And then we've just launched last month the judicial inquiry into the doctrine of discovery, which is the Vatican crimes over the last 500 years. And that began last month. The first testimony was taken last week. It will be released, I think, in about a week from now. And that begins every 2 weeks. There will be another testimonial coming forward from one of the world's hereditary leaders, kings and queens, paramount chiefs, grandmothers, wisdom keepers from all of these First Nations around the world. We have, I think, 30 or 40 of the first expert witnesses, hereditary leaders lined up. So it's going to start. And as the months roll on, the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into the Doctrine of Discovery is going to do so much good for this world in bringing the true stories of all of these First Nation peoples from Central South America, North America, Southeast Asia, Australasia, all over Africa, all around the world. We're going to get the true stories coming from the hereditary leaders as they tell about what happened in the 17th century or the 16th century or the 1850s or the 19th century or the 20th century. But all of these crimes, the theft of land, the genocide of humanity, the political and economic coercion and manipulation, the sacrifice of innocence, the genetic manipulation, the manufacturing of war and disease and poverty, the stealing of the gold, the land, and the destiny of peoples. This is the truest crime, the greatest crime. The sacrifice of innocence and the harvest of humanity in the service of Moloch, in the service of Baphomet, in the service of Satan. That is the only crime, the one crime. How we separated ourselves from ourselves. So telling this story, the doctrine of discovery, and the genesis point of when the Vatican first laid claim to the whole of the world and owned overnight the souls of every human being. And that began the registration processes and the tabulation processes, Ioannis, what you spoke about in your introduction. That was registration. Regis, Rex the king. The king was the proxy of the Vatican complex. Anyway, I leave it at that just to say we are conducting court. The truest court is a conversation between fellows like this.
Yes. And can you please, Sacha, tell us who are the members of this? Because there are some people around you with in this tribunal justice court.
There are justices. There are judges, barristers, lawyers, tribal judges, commissioners. Anyone could go to itnj.org or commission.itnj.org, but also go to the World Hereditary Council, because the World Hereditary Council is also working alongside. I founded this organization as well. We've been working on it for some years, and we've formally introduced it last month to the world. But the World Hereditary Council and the ITNJ are now working together on this doctrine of discovery, judicial commission of inquiry, which will take probably 3 to 5 years minimum, in my estimation. But I believe anyway, we're coming to the end of this great cycle and moving into a so-called ascension paradigm. I'm certain of this in my own mind and my own heart. So we're just really mopping up the shit right now, straightening the record, put it that way.
Thank you, Sacha. So, Scott, let's turn to you. We all know that your show, The Tipping Point, and your movement, Patriot Street Fighters, have touched millions around the world. Scott, how is the show going today, and what kind of response are you getting in these challenging times we're living in? Guests and voices that stands out, and also through your program and the Patriot Street Fighter platform, you've hosted many remarkable and courageous individual people who have dared to speak openly, reveal truths, and contribute to the Great Awakening. Are there any guests also who have particularly inspired you, whose courage, work, or example left a deeper mark on your soul? Many questions for win some time. Okay.
I'll finish the last question. Yeah, there have been. His name is Sacha Stone. Let's get that out. He was that guest. It's gone, has gone better than I had ever imagined, because, this wasn't a strategy, to create, anything like Patriot Street Fighter. In fact, when I started the Tipping Point radio show, I had never done radio before. I'd been a guest on political talk radio in the past out of LA, for a few hours, like 3-hour shows. And it just, it was sort of a fun pastime when I had those opportunities, because that was my world, elected politics. So, I never really even, I guess, I don't know if I ever contemplated a radio show. I just got pissed off at the end of 2019 when Antifa and BLM are burning the country down, killing people, destroying billions of dollars in property with the help of mayors or city mayors around the country, the political class. And out of Washington, D.C., Congress doing nothing. And obviously, I realized we were a captured operation in 2012. When I read the National Defense Authorization Act, I already knew where the country was going, because the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012 was passed in a Republican House, passed in a Republican Senate, and signed by a Democrat President, Obama. And I read that, and that happened to be giving the president, and it just happened to be Obama sitting in power at the time, in a in a case of a stated national emergency, that NDAA was giving the president, who was Obama at the time, control of the power grid, control of the food supply, and a kill switch on the internet. And I thought, you got to be effing kidding me. The sworn enemy in the White House of these two parties, that's what they're giving the guy. And that's when I realized we were a completely captured operation. And so the frustration of knowing we're going to lose the country because of the Tea Party Republicans, 87 or 82 of them came in 2012. Republicans took back the House of Representatives, which caught me completely by surprise. And they all campaigned on, we're going to draw the line in the sand. No more budget busting spending. They all campaigned on it. The entire Tea Party candidates, all of them. First vote, once they took power, 2013, January 23rd, they all voted for the very first vote they could cast, appropriations bill, busting the budget again, and 67 out of the 83 or 82 all voted for it. And that's when I knew it was over. 2019 hits. Now I see there's an active takedown of the country. I got pissed. January, I woke up 2021 day, and I said, you know what? I am not sitting on the sidelines anymore, because I walked away from elected politics years before. And Trump obviously was taking a beating for 4 straight years trying to get this thing, bring it down. And I just, blew that proverbial gasket, started the show, and it became what it was. It was a battering ram of truth attacking the Bush family, who I worked 2 campaigns helping shrub Bush get elected. And I started learning the hard truth about all this. So I decided, if nobody's going to say this stuff, I'm going to say it myself. And that's what created a radio show. I didn't think it'd last long. I thought they'd probably throw me off because it was way too terse, and it was just too much of an open throttle. But they seemed to love it. The audience they liked it, and they were kind of blown away by some of the information, not just that I had and was true and was provable, but the fact I was willing to say it, in front of the world, the people who I'm going after. Anyways, so 10 months after I started that, then the podcast came out of the need to help America understand what was really going on with the stolen election, that it was a military operation. And so that just took on a life of its own. And it obviously, I was unleashed. Now that we had, it went vertical. The very first live stream I ever did in my life went completely nuclear, which again caught me off guard. I just couldn't understand what was happening. I didn't know anything about YouTube or numbers or any, views, all subscribers. I knew none of that stuff. I didn't really care about that stuff, but it was so overwhelming, and people were like, where the hell have you been? Like, you kidding me? I've been saying this shit for 25 years. Where the hell have all you people been? And it just took on its own life. So, but it gave me an opening to do what I've always wanted to do, and that was do battle for the people. I thought I was going to be a United States Senator. I'd worked 16 years of my life through this course of action because that was my goal. And then I realized the whole machine is corrupt and these people, most are criminals. And I walked away from it. So I didn't think I was going to be able to deliver my own victory for humanity. Patriot Street Fighter became that in spades because I was able to go after the very criminals in government who put people like Sacha and myself and others like yourself in jail for exposing who they are. But when you have enough people that don't have any fear of them, go ahead, do what you got to do. But this doesn't stop. And look at you. Look at what you've endured in Greece. Like Sacha said, you truly have been an island unto yourself. They have stripped you to the bone financially. They've done everything they could to keep you from making money. The government of Greece, who is a criminal government, who they provoked a strike in Greece, ports, everything, transportation strike, because the government, I can't remember exactly what the situation was, if they were covering up a child that was murdered or somebody, and they're just trying to, sweep it under the carpet like these criminals and killers do. And that's what you're facing. And that's why, I continue to do what I do, because I see a number of people like you out there, Sacha, and other people out there that are fighting this battle against the global power structure, which is all governments who are at war with their own people. I'll say it again. The governments of the world state governments of the, nation state governments of the world are at war with their own people. And you say, I don't get that. Look what they do. God, everybody thinks who's in a position of power. God gave me this position of power to be a king or a president or a prime minister and to tell you all what to do. That's complete horseshit. Complete horseshit. And I will call bullshit on that every day of the week, because if our creator, who is a divine spark of consciousness, was going to assign people to provide governance, they sure as hell wouldn't do it to any of the leaders of the countries of the world who are in power now, except Donald Trump and a couple others who are, Orban and Hungary and other, people in power at the highest levels in those countries that are truly fighting to release their own people from the shackles of these criminal governments. So make no mistake, they are what they are. They always have been. We can now see it. And now they're in grave danger, because now we, the people of the world, see it. And we are their greatest nightmare, their greatest threat. The people of the planet are the greatest threat to the power structure, because we outnumber by the billions. And they know that if we collectively unify and unite, stop fighting each other. So any of you iceholes out there always fighting each other online or whatever, you're extending their rule on the planet. So you can't live your best life. Stop the bullshit and unite. Find a way to unite and stay focused on that enemy, because they are not ordained by God. In fact, God sent us here to remove them from power. People like you, myself, Sacha, the podcast world, and everybody moving against them. We were the ones that were chosen, not them, and we were chosen to remove them because they are false prophets and they're also false leaders. Anyways, that's what Patriot Street Fighter has become all about.
Thank you so much, Scott. The people, first of all, should know the truth, the horrible truth that we're living, and this is so sad, because many people cannot believe what is happening. And this is the problem, and we need to stay united and to fight all together. So, Scott, let's now open a subject that has drawn global attention. You are known as the one of the first to speak publicly about the Q movement and what many describe as a covert media operation, as you said before, designed to liberate humanity from a deep corruption and global control. Would like to hear it from you, someone who has followed the developments closely and understands them from within. And how did the movement begin, and who initiated it, and what was its true purpose? And today, years later, where do you both believe we stand within this great plan of awakening and liberation? Scott, please start, and Sacha, of course, is next.
It says, you asked that you're known as one of the first to speak public about the Q movement. Mm-hmm. There are a number of others out there, even before me. I wasn't even on a radio show yet, but I was studying it as it unfolded. And then what fascinates me is my view of all this information. Once again, it's not like many other people, who could decipher and discern and decode or whatever. I don't claim to be any of those people that are really good at that. I was fascinated that I wasn't the only person that knew what I shared with that first live stream video that went nuclear. I don't know why, it happened to be that one, that captivated people, but I just know it just went like wildfire. And it was easy to talk about, because when there's consensus in the world that I live in, I typically move away from where there's consensus. And you say, that doesn't make sense. Why? Well, it's like one of the 6 laws of principles of success that J. Paul Getty held. There are 5, and then the last one, the first 5 are fairly obvious, but the last one is observe the masses and do the opposite. And that's stuck with me since my early 20s. Observe the masses and do the opposite, because the masses are going in the wrong direction. We just have herd mentality where we see where the herd's going and we jump in line without questioning, have no discernment on why they going that way and for what are there better ways. So it's even like the podcast world. It becomes crowded. and, everybody's struggling for the attention of the message or the current events of the day, I just depart. I'm like, you guys want to all crowd in the sandbox and pull each other's hair and throw, here, it's all yours. I'm going over here. I'm focusing on the spiritual side of this war because that's the most important part of the war. So, how this whole thing happened, for me to be looked at that way, it's flattering. I can say it's not true. I'm not the expert in the Q movement, but I can tell you this. It gave me a roadmap of peace. And that roadmap of peace is to know, finally, somebody sees all this shit. They're doing something about it. And and what they're doing is they're activating a global army to fight this battle. And that's what the Q operation is. And what was even more exciting was to watch the mainstream media, to watch the left, to watch the lobotomized walking dead of the planet, all in opposition without any research or any study or any understanding of the Q movement, all pile on. And with the same thing, conspiracy theory, all of them, let's take the news channels, you see 50 talking heads and they synchronize certain segments where they're all saying the same buzzwords and phrases that the CIA gives them as their talking points, and they show that shit. Well, the same thing was true with the Q movement, which means if they come after it just by their actions, they validate it because it's an existential threat, obviously. So the harder they come at it, the more dangerous it is to their existence. I could clearly see that. So it's validation, number one. Second thing was there are 500 Q proofs. We call them Q proofs. Things that happened that they told us was going to happen in the future, and you couldn't know that unless you knew something or you knew everything. There's over 500 of these, like Epstein. Nobody in the world knew Epstein. Nobody even heard of his name, not even me. But when they arrested Epstein and he hit the press, hit the papers, like in 2018 or whenever they arrested him, 2019, I forget. When they arrested him, 8 months prior, we all knew who he was. We all knew he was involved in. But the rest of the world didn't. And so when he was arrested in Teterboro Airport, when he landed, and we got wind of that through the mainstream media, there's a group of us, millions of us around the world dancing, like literally, holy shit, it's happening. They're getting one of the top infiltration operations of Mossad, of the clowns in America, of the global intelligence network. They nailed him. And again, we were dancing because we had background. Where'd it come from? It came from them. It came from this military intelligence, naval intelligence, intelligence dissemination operation, the greatest one in the history of the planet, to show the world where to go look to find the answers to what happened to this world and created the depravity that lives amongst us and controls the world. So seeing all this meant for me like things that I never would have discovered or learned. It was mind-boggling, and it was addictive because every day it's like what's going to happen to people when this transition happens, where people are going to learn on the planet every single thing they've ever been taught in every education institution of any type on earth is a lie. It's a lie. Everything's a lie. All the histories, biblical or otherwise. Christ isn't a lie. Christ is evident. Christ's life has been distorted in many ways to disempower the message and his purpose and our response to it. So all of this stuff is going to be so exciting for all of us on the planet to learn the truth of who we are, where we come from, and what this world truly is all about, what this experience is. It'll bring so much enthusiasm that people will then want to go back to school and sit in class all day, every day to learn everything about the truth about the planet, who we are. That's what the operation was doing for all of us. We were starting to find out these truths, and we couldn't get enough. So that being said, is it making an impact? Is it still valid, viable, of measure? 100%. It is what has allowed a lot of us out here, as these things are playing out in the open. The covert war is now on the surface. We can see it. Most people would panic and flip out and have the wrong response. They've got an army of people like myself, and many better than even I am, who were helping explain to the world, who are uncertain. They're scared. What's happening here? is Trump a dictator taking over all this bullshit? We can explain to them, calm down. Let me tell you what's really happening. It's like I did for 52 minutes that night. I just turned that camera on for the first time ever. I started talking, explaining it, laying it out. This is what this is. And it brought so much peace to many millions of people, not all that I met, but I've met tens of thousands who've looked me in the eye and said, as I've traveled the country, you are the first podcaster I ever listened to, or you are the one that woke me up. And I'm like, wow, me? Really? All these other amazing people out here? What was it about that video? And then, of course, me continuing every week, every night, laying out all the background for what happened to the world. It just became overpowering and overwhelming to me, but the truly greatest experience of my life, because I finally realized that operation and what I got to put in place, in fact, in my own mind, what happened to the world, because I had a 30-year geopolitical perspective. My whole world was about a president could be asked by some media dipshit, who's a president of this little country? And the president wouldn't know, and they'd attack him like, I know who the president is. How the hell can a presidential candidate not know? Right? So those kind of things were so important to me that it was irrelevant in the scope of my professional life until 2020 hit. That all the things that I felt were a waste of my life and time and opportunity and income potential and were useless in so many ways. It was just my passion. But you never know what your creator has in store for your life, because it all became relevant in 2020. Now it actually had value to me, obviously, and to the world. So that's how powerful the movement has been. And it validated a lot of my inclinations that the governments and the people serving in government are not serving the people. They're serving a greater power, which is a satanic cabal, which will be exposed to the whole planet, and they'll get to see it.
Yes, correct. They want to destroy our DNA and our human species from the earth. And it's just a general thing they want to.
Yeah, and I can just animalize the whole thing. This is very easy to prove. It's in front of us everywhere.
Yes.
They're lying to us. They're stealing from us, and they're trying to kill us. Prove me wrong. Look around you. Look at the world in the last 5 years. All the evidence is pouring out in the open.
So, Sacha, you're
well, I mean, I can't connect on the Q story because I don't really give a fuck about it, and I never did. But and I'm certainly not. I've been associated with it by extension, but I've never studied Q. I don't think I've ever read a drop in my life, other than stuff that comes up on my feed from time to time, and I've always found that interesting and titillating. But please, understand my experience is very different. I'm somebody who's been involved since 1999. I set up Humanitad Foundation. I set it up because since 1995, I'd had experience in the circles that I was moving in that indicated to me that to take my dream forward in this world, I would need to start to do a certain form of diplomacy, put it that way. So what is military intelligence if not diplomacy? 1999, I set up my foundation. I began within 3 years for sure. I had a very good understanding of what was going on in the basement and how, because I was, with my foundation's work, I was operating and moving amongst leadership. But I was an outsider being brought in as a former rock and roll musician, so I was given a special dispensation if I was interviewing a world leader or a leading thinker or a political or military figure for my world leadership quarterly. I was publishing a magazine called the Humanitad World Leadership Quarterly, and that was a kind of dream journal that I was publishing through my foundation to exchange ideas amongst leadership. So I had the Dalai Lamas of this world writing articles and open letters. I had heads of state writing open letters and articles, leading economists, leading figures behind the power curtain. They were disseminating their ideas through the Humanitad Journal. It was a genius idea, if you ask me, and it was very well received. But because I wasn't publishing it openly to the public, it was only being exchanged amongst leadership. They were able to cross the boundaries, the normal boundaries, and communicate about what their dreams and visions were, not just about political ideology or policy making, So that's what I was trying to do with Humanitat, was humanize the connection at leadership level. So that's why many years later, now I'm accused of being some Babylonian, priest, and I'm involved in the Vatican, because stupid people come to stupid conclusions. That's always going to be the way it is. And people are very reductive and very black and white in the way they like to condemn something because they don't understand it. I put up with that shit for a long time. But I am a veteran. I'm an absolute veteran in this field. There's very few in the world who could claim to have been at it for longer than me. So I understand relationships at that level and behind the curtain. Yesterday, I was on the phone to one U.S. general, somebody who I've spent 4 meetings with in the last 6 months, spent good time with him. And there's a direct line between him and the Oval Office and Donald Trump. So I'm receiving information there, not just from him, but he's just an example because yesterday I was on the phone with him. So I'm communicating to people who have direct access to the president, also direct access to Putin, direct access to different leaders around the world. I have an incredible network, one of the most refined, personalized networks. So I'm very well informed in that sense. So when the Q thing came, I saw it as being a titillation. I saw it as being a necessary algorithm to begin the process. This has been confirmed to me by military intelligence people that I engage with, that yes, indeed, it is like Scott says, a bona fide operation. Cynical people, and I see many of them on the social media responding to Scott and me when we do conversations together. I generally go and see some of the comments there because I'm interested in learning more about Scott's movement. I know my people. I know the New Earth people. But the Patriot Street fighters are a bit more ready for a kind of hunch up, and they're more ready to fight and which I want to learn from. Put it that way. Mm-hmm. So I've seen some of the comments, and people, even some of Scott's own followers, disagree with him. And they think that this is a double psyop. The Q thing is a double psyop, that we're all being led by the nose into the bowels of hell by a counter-intel psyop. And one could take that position. The ultimate navigation set is human witness, to bear witness to the living present and to be in frequency attunement to your instinct. So if we are connected to our psionic intelligence, we know how to navigate the kingdom of the devil. We are led in the right way. Well, the three of us have all been led in that way, for sure. And here we are. So the point I'm trying to make is this. I look forward to a world that does not need to have some intel, co-intel, psyop, double psyop, info, disinfo, double disinfo complex, trying to pull us by the fucking nose to take us from A to B. I look forward to a world where we don't lie because we cannot lie, because our auric field, our radiance will not permit it, because the new geometry of light coming into this world by the grace of the living God will prevent that kind of deception. So people, the minute they start to speak a lie, won't be able to. This is a Harry Potter reality that is going to be happening in the next 7 years. Mark my words. By the year 2032, at the latest, it will not be possible. So this new earth that we're building, that we're group dreaming, is going to be doing the cleansing. We're going to be entering a world where we don't need to use intel, co-intel, and veiled language or encrypted language. People ask me about blockchain and crypto. Isn't it wonderful? I say, yes, it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. I say it is wonderful on the one hand because it does support independent and sovereign autonomous transactions. But at the same time, it's cryptographicized. And I look forward to a world, the new earth that I dream. It does not need to encrypt anything. It doesn't need to hide anything from anyone. One understands natural boundaries, which is the private and the public. There is a private and there is a public. It is of no consequence to the world what I do behind closed doors in my bedroom or in my bathroom with my boyfriend or my girlfriend or my box of dildos. To be blunt, it's of nobody's goddamn business. Now, today, looking at the news headlines on my telephone, I see continued attacks against Prince Andrew of the royal family in Britain. This is a classic example. So this of a co-intel or a double disinfo campaign. So here is a collateral prince, somebody who is not of great significance in the landscape, but he's a collateral prince. He is the kind of figure in these establishments that is groomed in a position so that they can set him on fire if they need to. They did the same thing in Hollywood with Harvey Weinstein. You think Harvey's the bad guy? He was never the bad guy. Never the bad guy. I told that to Harvey and to his family at the time when they came after him. I said, you're going down, but you're not the bad guy. The bad guys are your friends, the ones who are throwing gasoline on you and about to throw a match on you. And I advised him to stop spending so much money on defending himself and more money on investigating his friends. Who? The Clintons and the Obamas, obviously. So the point being, and he now knows the truth of that, but the point being this, the collateral princes are the ones that are set on fire, the collateral icons. The real nasty ones, they are fine. They're doing just fine. So what's really the story behind Jeffrey Epstein? Epstein is also a collateral prince. Okay? Epstein is not the big, bad, scary guy. The piece of shit human being, without any question of doubt. Disgusting individual. Is he in a witness program? I think he probably is. Scott, I'd love to know yours. Yes. But I think he almost certainly is in a witness program. But he's a piece of shit. But he's a proxy. He's a collateral prince. Prince Andrew. Not a wholesome character. I know mutual friends. I've had mutual friends of Prince Andrew's for 30 years, 40 years. And I've heard some nice things about him. And I've heard some pretty grubby things about him. Who cares? I'm not interested in what goes on in his underpants. If he was fucking a 16-year-old girl, 15-year-old girl, 14-year-old girl, yes, that's of criminal interest, I guess, to the customs of today. That wasn't the case in ancient Greece, incidentally. Socrates and all of these other philosophers were fucking kiddies, apparently. Let's just get things into perspective. I'm not an apologist for this behavior. I think it's disgusting. But I'm saying also, at the same time, we are constantly being controlled through psyops. Cultural psyops. Culture is a psyop. Religion is a psyop. Society and social norms are psyops. They are orchestrations to control and harness humanity and harvest our life force. So let's just get things into perspective. I think it is when I'm reading an article on Prince Andrew in the royal family or Jeffrey Epstein, the shame is not on Jeffrey Epstein or on Prince Andrew. The shame is on the people who are feeding that meme, that pattern. The shame is on the millions of people who pump their own psychosexual energy into these memes and keep flipping through these memes and make these memes important. That's where the shame belongs. So I advise every living child of God, son or daughter of God, to reflect on this one truth. There is no them out there. There is no bad guy out there beyond a certain point. It comes down to you and your relationship with yourself, your relationship with God, and your relationship with this world. And I think that each of us need to get back into that and stop demonizing and projecting and manufacturing this dialectic, this constant conflict dialectic. It's all about bringing it home, releasing any notion of absolute knowledge and control in the true Socratic tradition. The only thing I know absolutely is that I know absolutely fuck all. That's wisdom. That's the genesis of wisdom right there. But I'm just suggesting nothing out there is as it seems. So when we talk about Q, am I interested? Not particularly. I think there are bigger issues at stake here, which is the relationship that each human being needs to reclaim with themselves in the sanctity of their own heart and their own pure flame of pure truth. I will leave it at that.
Okay, yes, and okay, we're going to another subject. Thank you so much, Sacha. I just asked you because about your spiritual spiritual perspective, and I want to ask you about because you are near on these things. I want to ask you about Donald J. Trump. What's your opinion about him, and what do you believe his true role in this great global chessboard of events? And is he simply a political leader who came to disrupt the establishment, or as many claim, does he represent something deeper, perhaps a spiritual or a historical role within this age of awakening and transformation? Scott, if you like to tell us from your standpoint as a patriot and truth warrior, and then Sacha from your spiritual, as I said, and philosophical point of view, and I'd love to hear about how you see Trump's and his mission.
Well, I think a case can be made for all those with Donald Trump. It depends on your perspective.
Yes.
When I looked at, I was indifferent to Donald Trump. I mean, I knew, art of the deal. I didn't, I think I tried the audio tape once when I was driving, and I thought, man, this guy is talk about just come right out. And I'm saying it's like Muhammad Ali. I'm the greatest in the world. I'm the greatest in the world. I found that fascinating. The guy could have this kind of confidence. Like, I'm the best deal maker. I'm the best everything. I thought, wow, shit, I wish I had that kind of confidence. Maybe that's why he's got billions of dollars and I don't have any. So he danced on that boundary of running for office in the past, and he was definitely a power broker, because all the presidents on Republican side or whoever would always come to him for his endorsement during every presidency here, or ask him for money. So when he made his announcement that day, that's what changed the world for me. I happened to catch it by chance. I was walking by a TV. I can't even remember where. Saw this guy coming down the escalator with his beautiful wife. Didn't even know her name. So I don't follow that stuff. And gets to the bottom. He starts speaking. And I actually stopped for a second to see what was up. It was still indifferent. And he started to talk. And I thought, wow, he's starting to announce that he's going to run for the presidency. He's a few minutes into it. And that's when Moses parted the sea in front of me, because he looked, he said, see them back there? He said, back there, they're fake news. They're fake news. I nearly passed out. Because in my world, I mean, there's truth to that adage that you never, ever pick a fight with anybody who pours ink by the barrel, which is media. Went right after him. And I was like, holy Mary, Mother of God, there he is. I never saw him coming. Because I've been saying for years, we're in deep shit. There is no Reagan on the horizon. Trump makes that speech that day, and I was like, it is on. I went to Facebook. I started laying it down. I got pounded for the next 18 months on Facebook by my Republican friends, mind you. They were all Ted Cruz supporters. I'm like, I don't care what you think. I'm telling you right now, that guy can never do what Trump can do. His wife's Goldman Sachs, a Bush acolyte. I went down through the list. They'd say something stupid. I'd put 40 paragraphs down because I had so much background, and I could bury anybody. And of course I was right. And I thought, well, it's a 50-50 chance I'm right or wrong. If I'm right, man, I come out looking like a genius. If I don't, I might as well find a chicken coop and live there forever, because that's what it would turn out to be. Incidentally, I knew it in my heart and soul. And then, we learned about the military operation, and I was like, okay, now it all makes sense, how this all added up to be what it is. And, I know people are going to be, there are people that are supporters of Trump that are at odds with him. Some people turned on him here and there against him. The fact of the matter is, the reality in life is, if any two people are always in agreement, one of them is completely unnecessary. So if you can agree with everything about another human being, then something's wrong. You're probably in front of a mirror only. But there's things about Trump I don't understand. But when people say, look at this, look at this, look at this, he's a cabal player. I'm like, well, first of all, this is a very unusual war. And if you understand the art of war, you understand what's happening here. if you understand that if you're going to infiltrate the Mongols motorcycle gang, a bad chapter like the FBI agent who did infiltrate them and took them down, that chapter, you sure as hell better convince them and their world that you are one of them. Because if not, they suspect for a second that you're not, they just cut your head off right where you stand. So Trump's got to play a certain role, again, to keep the other faction believing that he's truly faking us out, we the people, and working with them, while he's faking them out, working with us, the we the people. Now, again, they could still throw sand in those gears, and from time to time, I say, okay, let's look at the whole picture here. Here we are. We have military intelligence intercepted the 16-year plan to take down America. 8 years of Obama to take us over the cliff, which he did. We were truly dead in the water in every way. Hillary comes in for the second 8 years. She bats cleanup, mop-up operation, sum of all fears, Uranium One, Moscow, Putin, Syria, Iran, North Korea, all that stuff, right? And she launches a thermonuclear strike, retaliatory strike on Moscow, claiming Moscow detonated that particular nuke that got inside the country from the stockpile sold to Putin. And those clowns in America had done that, made bombs in those 3 countries from the uranium they stole off of what they sold them, and they were going to blame it on him. It's over. The world is over. COVID wasn't supposed to hit until 2025 because the thermonuclear event that would kick off a global thermonuclear war was going to take out at least 2 billion people. Then they hit us in 2025 with COVID to wipe out so many more. So you look at all this, you look at this plan, okay, laid out, and then Trump steps in with military protocol, throws sand in the gears, stops all of it. People say he's working with them. Okay, no shit. So what you're saying to me is here's Hillary Clinton. The rails are greased for her to get in the White House. It's already done. They've been stealing elections forever. So it's like being in a Ferrari. And you come into, I can't think of the name of the tunnel in Colorado, where you're going around a bend and you go through this massive tunnel, come out on the other side. That's like coming to the edge of that tunnel, and in your objective, you're going to accomplish Hillary in the Ferrari. You stop at the edge of the mountain and say, you know what? I think we're going to change the game plan. We're going to switch out players. We're going to bring in a guy named Donald Trump, who's going to help expose to the world all the horrible shit that's going on by the power structure. And instead of going through the tunnel, we're going to put him on a donkey, and we're going to have him go over the mountain and to come out on the other side, which is where our objective is, to go on the other side. That makes no sense. That makes no sense whatsoever. So you have to look at that and say, they already won this thing, but now we're going to throw Trump into it to expose all this shit, go the hard way around. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. It was done. It was a done deal. So when people make the case that he's working for the other side, I'm like, I don't even know what to say to you. Obviously, I can't have a conversation, because if that's how thin your actual intellect is to create this picture and find a way to define it, there's no conversation to have here. You either have common sense or you don't. So that being said, why would the power structure make it such a rough go when the war was already won on their side? Mm-hmm. Well, it's pretty simple. He wrecked their shit. The military plan to take down the global power structure has been underway since he killed Kennedy. You don't wreck all their shit. You don't expose all this stuff to we the people of the world. You do not wake up we the people. You don't do anything to wake up the people. Because if you do, it's just a matter of time. It is a powder keg that you're sending into a house of sparklers. You got to be dumber than an outhouse rat to do anything like that. Yet that's what they're trying to say. Many people, that's what they're doing here. Stupid.
Scott, forgive me if I can interrupt. I have to leave. I'm afraid I had an hour and a half for this, Ioannis, and I really have to leave. I've got to get in a car and go. That's waiting for me. So do you mind if I just wrap up for a couple of minutes on this and my last offering, then leave the room? Is that okay?
Yeah. In fact, I had a 90-minute allotment too, so this works out perfect.
So I can just say that on the Trump side of equation, it's not a question of whether we think or believe he is a disruptor or a good guy. It's not a question of belief. It's a question of factuality. So he is disrupting. He is the disruptor. It's not a belief. It's a fact. He is a good man. It's not a question of belief. It is a fact that he is a good man. It is not a question of belief. And if you feel that we need to believe that he's a good man over observing and reading the executive presidential orders that come out of the man, the difficulty becomes when you don't understand what it takes to survive in Washington. He has to choose his fights and pick his fights. Any leader has to at that level. You can't just take on, as a good guy, take on every dark agenda at the same time. Don't be absurd. It's a process. You have to pick your fights. You have to strategize. It is chess in that sense. And, leave Israel till last, for instance, is a classic piece there. So people will say to him, well, yeah, I'll agree. He's taken down, begun child trafficking and ended fake media and, done this, that, and the other. But at the same time, he's best mates with Netanyahu. Don't be fucking idiotic. He's not best mates with Netanyahu. He would throw him under a steamroller if he had half the chance. And when he does have the chance, that's exactly what he's likely to do, in my view. So the point is, you have to work with brinksmanship. You have to understand what it takes to navigate that indivisible line in power, and you have to be masterful at it. It's pretty clear that he is masterful. Donald J. Trump is masterful at what he does. So in terms of reconstituting, resetting, defibrillating the American social economy in one calendar year, my God, he's a miracle worker. He's a miracle worker. Yes. So there's so many reasons why the man is godly. Now, does that mean that he wasn't banging 17-year-old girls in Moscow in the 1980s? I don't know. And again, I don't care. I don't care. I'm not interested in feeling right. I'm not interested in condemning human beings and constantly throwing rocks at them in order to adrenalize myself into feeling good about myself. Too many people are addicted to their own ideas of morality. Forget that nonsense. Just take a look at the big game and see what is happening. Read the scripts, the actual words that come out of Vladimir Putin, and you'll understand the man is an archangel. Yes, he's also mafia. Yes, he's also a former KGB top scout. Yes, he also had a predilection for pretty young girls. Who cares? Just observe the broad strokes, the facts, the way that the bold brush strokes of destiny are being written. That's what we need to start to observe and not be pulled into the morality, the minutiae, the underpants, the underwear of people. This is a psychosexual obsession that humans have. It's a psychosexual, psycho-intellectual obsession that most humans have because they feel so powerless within themselves. Just stop. So I'm observing the facts of what Donald J. Trump is doing and who he is. And I am not just amused, I am bewildered. I am enchanted by so much of it. Vladimir Putin, I've been enchanted with for 20 years. I've been observing that man. I know exactly who he is and what he represents to the resurrection of the angelic indigo humans. And I will stand on my own screaming that in an abyss. I have no problems. I'm not looking to make friends in this world. I don't care about making friends. I care about pure truth. I care about right action. I care about the reclamation of human dignity and of our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with the one eternal God. So thank you for the question on Trump. I think it's a great way to end this conversation. And one more thing I just want to say in finishing again, that you have with Scott and I two brothers in arms standing shoulder to shoulder with you.
That's why we're here. And I'm asking this question because here in Greece, many people have another option, another opinion about Trump. We have infiltrated with disinformation here. And as we discussed here, that's why the control opposition work in many cases here. And where I'm also as a Trump supporter, you know that. And I just want to clear the place about Trumps. And from your opinion that you are living in there and you have all this information in front of you. So, before Sacha, you leave, I have a question for you, a special question for you, because before some days, I just mentioned in an interview or some speech about 3i Atlas. And I have this question which has been mentioned more and more frequently in recent times because we heard about it. What exactly it is, the 3i Atlas, and what is the purpose of its presence and at this particular moment of time? If you like to...
Yes, I'm happy to end on that. So 3i Atlas, I've spoken with some of the world's leading experts on the subject. I've done a number of broadcasts. We started investigating it many, many months ago, before it became a popular idea. And I think we have a fairly good understanding of what this is. Look, the geometry of the living moment is perfect always in all ways. And the fact is that the geometry of our living moment at the collective level, the planetary level, is being forced into a compression point. And the compression point is to do with the beginning of turning the wheel in the other direction. We have been through a galactic sleep cycle. And that sleep cycle saw us begin the trial of separation as we moved away from our galactic roots, as we moved away from our union with our divine nature, as we moved further and fell into separation, civilizationally at the galactic level. That was a necessary journey that we have been taking for the last 13,000 years at least, a very necessary journey in dying in order to be reborn into a higher octave of expression. So in that sense, we've taken that dark dive into the galactic sleep. We are now emerging through it to the age of Aquarius, the new geometry of light, of vibral light, which is impacting our solar system by virtue of the plasma that it represents, the breath of God coming through the eye of the Milky Way. This plasma beam, this photon cloud is a real manifest phenomenon that we know about. And we are now impacting it as we swing in the outer fringe of the solar system, of the galaxy, of the Milky Way. We are impacting that light cloud, that photon band. As we impact that, every single cell, every single molecule, every atom is reshaped in our world, in our field of reality. It's impacting a vibral counterpoint beam of light. And so that means that we are being enlightened. The immanence, the grace of God is descending. This is revelation. This is prophecy coming to fruition. And we just need to be present in that and courageous in bearing witness to that process and recognizing that we are the lens, the eyeball of God. When we are in full alignment, in the absence of fear, in truth, in love, and present, bearing witness, not judgment, witness, then we are able to participate in this galactic cosmic dance. That's what's going on. 3i Atlas represents the opening of the curtain. That's all it is. It is a galactic totem that is coming in. Yes, it is a mothership. Yes, it is a comet. Yes, it is a hyperdimensional, subdimensional, intradimensional, supradimensional phenomenon. Yes, it represents a recatalyzing of the solar codes, which are going to impact the Earth and all planets in the solar system. Yes, it's recoding everything. Yes, it's also a mind fuck because it's going to be blasting into the monotheistic religious mind. It's going to be the first macro forensic phenomenon that we cannot ignore, that completely begins to overthrow the monotheistic religious mind of our culture. So it is all of these things. It is a perfect totem that we are dreaming into manifestation. And it is a sign from the heavens, from the star nations, every bit as much as it is also part of us that is reminding us of who we are. So it's about to catalyze a journey, a return to self, a return to divinity, a return to the galactic family, so to speak. It is all of the above. Ioannis?
Yes, thank you. As we have 10 minutes left here, I want to make another point and another subject, but I want to please you to answer in few lines, in few words, just to about a moment that some events that concerns all of humanity, events that we have marked out, collected path, and contributed to what we now call the global awakening, as Scott discussed before. The fall of the Twin Towers of September 11, the Sahara programs, the elections fraud, Joe Biden's presidency, and of course the case of John Kennedy Jr., a figure that continues to spark worldwide discussion not only about where he is still alive, but where he is a part of the grand plan for the awakening and liberation of humanity. How do you both see these events within the broader framework of the global transition we are experiencing? And do you believe, are they pieces of the larger plan of revelation and chance of separate incidents that coincidentally led to this collective awakening?
Scott, I'm going to leave you to answer the question. I have to go and get in the car here, but I will say that we've arrived at a point where we ought to be withdrawing our attention from these memes and these patterns, and we should stop seeking validation or verification outside of ourselves. This is an invitation to return to innocence, return to immanence, to ignite our own superluminal genius and our capacity to dream reality into manifestation and to anchor the kingdom of heaven to earth. So I am getting on with the mechanics of building the new earth. I'm on a plane in 10 days' time, in just over a week actually, to Africa. I'll be on the ground in Africa working with royal establishments and governments there, establishing the new earth land holdings as we begin to tokenize and assetize and create our own economy and create our own law, our own jurisdiction, and do so in a peaceable, loving way with hereditary leaders, with government itself and the institutions, and with the fellowship of our own movement of people. So I'm far more interested personally in the mechanics of how we begin to manifest reality ourselves. So I don't want to be inhabiting any longer a world that is informed by external events that are orchestrations of dark-hearted individuals. Because if we return our attention from that, pull it back from that toward the revelation of the majesty of creation, of God's true creation, we should be instead enchanted by the birds, the bees, and the clouds, and about natural restoration of natural law, natural justice, natural geometry into our lives. It's a choice. It's all a choice. I
totally agree. But I'm asking because of people want to know about it. I agree with you. We are changing our lives, changing our earth. That's why the new earth, your project is, and this is spiritual thing that we have to attend and do this to be together to make new life, and that's our plan.
God bless you, Ioannis. Forgive me, I have to leave early. And Scott, love you, brother. And I'll speak to you on the telephone.
Hey, brother.
Travel safe. Scott. Okay, brother. If you want to answer this in few lines, because it's a people question here, and
go ahead and phrase the question.
Yes. Okay. People wants to know about the ABS, the Sarah. What about John Kennedy Jr.? What is happening? And this is a part of awakening. What is the truth? What is lies? Whatever will happen, the ABS, the AAS, everything is discussing this years, and we are waiting for it.
Well, I don't know. I don't claim to have intimate knowledge of that. Mm-hmm. I know what I shared with my audience, certainly in 2020, 2021 on Nasara. I've never seen anything in print with Gisara. G means global. Mm-hmm. But I was having a conversation last night with a friend of mine and over in Thailand. He's American, but we were having this conversation too. And he's been shared information from an intelligence source that we both know and get information from. I do time to time. He spends more time with this person. But those things apparently are underway in terms of releasing the massive wealth that's been stolen from humanity by the power structure, by the Vatican, by the religious order, as they claim to be here to serve humanity and Christ and God and, shepherds for the people and all that, which is complete horseshit. It's anything, and there has been anything but that. It's a satanic cabal, who's stolen the wealth of the planet and hidden it from us, because that's how they control us. Do I believe it's being undone? Yeah. Do I believe there's going to be a release in some measured fashion of these massive resources of wealth to start easing the burden for humanity? Yes. Do I believe humanity should be working 40, 50, 60 hours a week and basically, slaving away their life, working a production machine that prints money for the owners of the machine, the global machine? No, I don't believe that's why we're here. I believe we're to spend our time, a vast majority, in prayer, meditation, focusing on our spiritual essence, our spiritual consciousness, trying to elevate it. You can't do that when you're, starving, when you're poverty stricken, when you're diseased, when you're, ill, and whatever it is. They convince us that that's all God's plan to make us better humans and earn our way to heaven. Complete bullshit. It's absurd that we even can be taught to believe this bullshit. Now, I'm saying I believed it all once too. It's all programming. We believe what they tell us because we think they're have our best interests in mind. But you learn what the world power structure is and the religious order is. You're like, wow, really? Like they really duped us for thousands of years? Yeah, they have. So they're the ones that have been the lead in destroying the human experience for us spiritual beings. And they'll be dealt with. But, where is JFK Jr. lying in all this? I have personal reasons to believe that this heroic man is still, walking the planet. And I can't really go into details on that at the moment. Not that I have any privileged information, but I still have that belief. And I was told by one of these intelligence sources a few years back when I asked him point blank to his face, is Jr. still alive? Is he still with us? And the answer I got was unequivocal, yes. So I just kind of leave it at that. Whenever there's an emergence, it'll be the right time based on where the world is in terms of the battle. And it will be a net positive for the battle. Yep. Do I believe it could be the unifying event of the world? I've said that before. When Q operation in the context of some drop, a very long intelligence drop, they said at the very end of that drop of information, in all capital letters, the world will be united. And I just said back then, 5 years ago, the only thing I can think that would unite the whole world, look at the world, look at the construct of separate religions. There's 26,000 sects of religions on earth. Do you think our creator would create that, have 26,000 choices and all the confusion and all the competition and all the backbiting and we're the real religion and we have the true God, all that nonsense that people from all the major religions have bought into and they live their lives by. They kill other people for that, right? My God says to kill you, right? It's absurd bullshit, but yet people believe that. I don't think that there's any revelation there that could unite the whole world. They say, finding out what they're doing to the children and exposing all that. It's not going to unite the world. Yes. It pisses off. But what would cause people in 200 plus countries, what single event could happen in the world where literally the world's in 24 hours is united? What would cause them to drop to their knees if they're downtown Manhattan on the street or if they're in the middle of Mumbai, right, working a field? The news come out worldwide. What would be the biggest news story to likely ever hit the planet? The reemergence of America's favorite son. a man of distinct honor and integrity and sacrifice, steps in front of the world and shows the world and explains why I had to leave the world. And that moment, just the significance of this living being would be enough to cause people to break out into tears. And he could explain to the world why. And when he did, you'd take all factions of geopolitical opposition and bring them together like, holy shit. If he's saying it, it must be true. Look what he gave up for. So if and when that happens, I don't know where, but it'll be the same for me the day he died. I didn't have any particular identification with Junior other than what we all did. We see just a very handsome guy that just seems like he had it all together. You know, people loved him. The world seemed to love him. And one day he's dead. And I'm sitting in a gym on a bench, watching on a TV screen, sobbing. And again, I had the Republican Democrat dynamic. He's a Democrat. JFK was a scumbag, you know, a womanizer, all this bullshit they programmed on our heads to believe. We didn't know he was a hero, people on my side. But it didn't matter to me. I didn't see two different political parties. I saw a beautiful man, yet another one from a family, gone. And that's the one that you can't take from us. And that's how I felt that day. And I think if there was any reemergence of him, I'll be sitting down somewhere, same tears dropping onto the floor, just like the day we lost him. I think it'd be a pretty magnificent life event for all of us. So we'll see. We'll see. I myself have to make my exit. I'm a little over time at the moment. Got another show to prepare for, but I just want to tell you, this was a long time coming to finally connect with you. And once again, I want you to take to heart everything Sacha said. When I was trying to meet you in the airport that day, and you flew in specifically to meet with me, and because of my situation, you know, with my injury and having, you know, gone through the security process for international flights and all that, to try to then get back to you was impossible. And I just couldn't, I was horrified, like, oh my God, this guy flies in to meet me at the airport and I can't even get to you. That's when I called Sacha. Can you meet with Ioannis? Because, you know, I told him all about you. And when I got on the phone when I got on the phone with him later on, and he said what he said about you, he said, this is a beautiful man. And he said a number of things. He says, we are going to get behind him. I thought this couldn't have worked out any better. Even though we didn't get face to face, but you did with Sacha, that had way more value. And so, it brings both of us into the fold to back what you've been doing in Greece for 5 years on your own as an island and a warrior when the rest of the country seems to be relatively asleep to what's truly happening to them and the gravity of it in their own country by a corrupt government. So like Sacha said, my hat's off to you. We're proud that you were one of the few people in your nation to have the balls to take these people on and take on the truth at great personal and financial cost to you. That's a rare duck. And, you know, your life will be immeasurably better when we get on the other side of this thing and the world's going to get a chance in your country to see who the heroes were. And you'll certainly be in that garden of heroes by what you've done, what you stood against, and what you stood for. So my hat is off to you, brother.
Thank you so much, Scott. And Sacha left also, and I want to say that it's truly an honor and a great joy to have shared this conversation with you today. And I have followed both of you, your work since early 2020, I think, yes, in the earnest of 2020, in the context of my research on global geopolitical developments. And I can say that your presence, Scott, your work and your courage have been a source of inspiration for me and for thousands of people around the world because of your podcast and your work generally. And through your example, you show that the fight for truth and human dignity can be waged with faith, awareness, and love, and that in times like this is priceless. I'd like to close with a few words spoken nearly 2.5 centuries ago, but more relevant today than ever, words that remind us why we are here and what it truly means to be a free human being. Every man is born free and equal before his creator. He is endowed with certain unalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whenever any form of power becomes destructive to this sense, it is the right and the duty of the people to alter or to abolish it and to establish a new founder upon truth, justice, and light. Scott, and of course Sacha, what you are doing is precisely that you are among those who stood in the light, who spoke with courage when most remained silent, as you said before. And last, for that, I thank you sincerely from my heart. May God and all the highest forces of light guide you, your work, give you strength and protection, and bring for the true liberation of humanity. Again, I will say that it was an honor to share the space with two true patriots, and thank you, and may peace, truth, and freedom bless the entire world.
Anyways, thanks again,
brother.
Thank you so
much. Thank you so much.
Much love. Say probably you're just pretty much about ready to go get some sleep yourself, isn't it? Nighttime over there, bedtime for you, roughly. I still have an eye on the other side of the world, the time zones, because we get used to working with them once we're on a cruise. But anyways, I will go ahead and sign off, and I will say with that, my friend, much love, Patriot Street Fighter out.